Hello, hello. Hello. Hi, Sam. Come on up. We are about to talk beef on Netflix. Very exciting. Can everyone hear me? Is everyone good? Oh, I didn't invite you guys to speak and co-host.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect, perfect.
Is the music playing? Hi, what we watch. How are we?
I'm in the car, so I'm just trying to make sure my mic works. And I'm ordering food too. Can I get some hot sauce and some yeah? Did you hear that?
We'll mute your mic. I am so excited about this show. I am very, very happy about it. The soundtrack was really fun. Everything was really exciting. So let me tweet out the music selection was hilarious to me. So let's start to chat. What we watched, can you please put on in the space the article that we discussed earlier? There is a beautiful, beautiful lesson behind all of the titles of the episodes. So I want to talk about like how we felt about those titles and how they really kind of tied in to the episodes themselves. Hi Matt, how are you? Welcome. We're talking beef Netflix. This is one of the songs that's playing from the show, so very, very excited to discuss the juxtaposition of like what's occurring with like the random songs that they played throughout each of these episodes, right? If you look at the top of the space, there are movie posters, Through the Glass Darkly and Burden of Dreams, and they have a huge tie to the show. This A24 production. So has everyone seen all of the episodes? Or are we gonna experience some spoilers in here? Have we all seen all of the episodes? Don't be afraid. Speak up, speak up. Have we all seen all of them?
Yeah, binged them over the course of the weekend, probably to the point where they might run together a little, and I've probably missed a few things, but yeah, definitely seen them all.
Yeah. And that's right. That's like what we risk with binging, right? Like some things where it's like, oh, in episode 6, and it's like I don't know if it was episode 6 or what. I just remember that it happened, right? Sam, have you seen all of them? Float and Flows, feel free to come up. Welcome to What We Watch.
Yeah,
This is a
I have.
community discussion. Okay,
I
great,
just
great.
I just finished
Hi, Jess.
watching them today, earlier today, because I don't know.
Okay.
I thought this the what we watch. Uh, I thought it was gonna be at 2:30. I don't know why I thought it was. Well, I thought it was on uh, Pacific time, but I guess it automatically updates to whatever time zone you're in.
Yeah, it automatically updates for
So
you.
I was like,
Yeah, so it's all good. But I'm glad you finished it because um yeah, what's cool about it is that like I was just talking recently with someone on the app about like binging TV shows, and I could never make a blanket statement about if I'd prefer to like binge a TV show or not, right? It really depends. So it was really cool. I have like four TV shows to catch up on, but Beef is like, that sweet 28, 30 minute to 35-minute show that I can just kind of, push through and like really kind of engage. And I don't like, while I feel like I'm missing things, I know that they'll loop it back in and tie it like well enough. And if I can, I can just rewind. I'm not like committing 45 minutes to an hour, right? 10 whole hours. This is about 5 hours of really solid television. So let's get into it. How would you describe this show in one sentence to people who haven't seen it, right? Let me get some takers. How would you describe this show in one sentence? What is this show about? Anybody on the stage?
Uh, it's like real life BoJack Horseman.
You are. I know you said that because the last episode is definitely BoJack Horseman for me. I wanna come back to that because that's one of my favorite shows ever. Shout out animation. Um, Jess, what about you?
Yeah, man, that's such a hard question. To me, I think this show is about how rage and anger can really be about longing and yearning and what happens when it goes unfulfilled and that journey.
Mm, I like that. I like that. What happens when rage? What do we do? How rage and anger can actually be longing
How
and
it can be
yearning, and what we
so
do.
many other things. Yeah, because I was listening to someone try to like convince their friend to like watch the show. And he was like, "Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy." It was kind of like a, Beef on Netflix. Trust me. Just get into it. And she was just saying
Right.
like, "Oh, like I don't know. It just seems like what's the deal with road rage? Like I saw the trailer and I just was trying to figure out why would anybody be that angry? Like what's the deal with road rage?" And he just said, "But that's the thing. It's about so much more." And then that's when I got to appreciate the journey that I just got taken on with Ali and Stephen Yun about
Yeah.
all those other things that was happening in that road rage incident.
Right. Right. I love that. Sam, how would you describe it in one sentence?
I would say millennial. Uh, I really enjoyed the last two episodes really because I mean I like any millennial show, especially coupled with an
Okay,
environment
we
that's in it.
we can't
Can you
we
hear me?
can't really hear you, but the question was how would you describe it in one sentence to someone
Hold
that
on, hold on,
hasn't
hold on.
seen it?
Come back to me. Come back to me.
We'll come back to you. So I want to be able to. Here's how I would say it, and it's along the lines of Jess as well. Matt, I like yours too because I want to come back to that because referencing another show is always good. So the reason why I asked that question is that as screenwriters and like creators, we are often asked to like, right, like because production, companies and networks like get so many pitches, right, like how do you pitch yourself, right? That whole like business acumen of like being able to talk about something concisely and precisely. And this is such a layered show, right? So like what would your log line be for this show is kind of what I asked, but just like in a more like natural, like, okay, how would you like describe it? You've already seen it, you know what's gonna happen. Why should other people watch it, right? And that's what we watch is about. And for me, it's like I think I would just ask a question. Have you ever been angry with a stranger? This is what that show is about. Like, I would just be like, have you ever been mad behind your steering wheel and lost your fucking mind? And like I tweeted earlier about like just what this show to me has like really exemplified. And it's just like how unchecked rage and anger and like how a small moment that's like seemingly innocuous can really kind of fucking take you down a dark ass path, right? And the clear word that we can all, like, to me, that's just like glaring in every episode is revenge, right? And we sit with characters in every moment where we're like, are they going to seek revenge or not? And they almost always do, right? Like, it's just vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. And that's what, like, beef is, right? Like, why we got beef? Because it's like, I will not fucking let this go. And it's like, the more that I won't let this go, then you won't fucking let this go, right? And then neither of us are letting things go. And that's when it comes into, right, like, I really appreciated episodes 8, 9, and 10, because that was like the crux, right? Like, it was like the foundational layer. It's like, okay, we're peeling back why, how you got to the point of flipping someone off in the middle of a parking lot, right? How you got to the point of honking at someone for that long. How you got to the point of like almost backing into someone, right? Like, just, normal shit. We've all been there. If you've driven for more than 1 year, you've been in a position where someone angers you. You don't know who that person is. None of you could tell me the license plate of any of these people. None of you could tell me their names, what they look like, really, unless you've gotten really close to the Ali Wong, Stephen Young. Then we got to talk about your road rage. But it's like, these things are just like things that happen day to day, but like, we all know about the consequences of our actions, right? So like, what do you do with your revenge? And why do you have so much vengefulness in your heart, right? Like, why do you have so much rage and anger, right? Because it's not a bad thing, but like, what are you doing with it? Where did it come from? And that's why I think everybody likes this show, because who doesn't enjoy a spiteful ass, vengeful ass show? If we can't do it in real life because we were taught, from whatever, to not, have beef all the time because it'll fucking consume our lives, then at least let's watch it in a goddamn TV show. That's fun. So that's how I like think about this show. Like, Matt, why did this remind you of BoJack? Because I like that. Also, when you're pitching a show, you need to tell me like what other show might have influenced it. So I like that answer too.
Okay, so the reason why it came to me as kind of like analogous, or whatever you want to use, whatever word you want to use, as BoJack, was because the way it starts off, right? I feel like I'm watching a comedy, and slowly but surely, the rug is kind of pulled out from under you. That, yeah, there's going to be some funny moments, and there's going to be some, parody, and you're going to laugh, but it's also going to kind of like hit you right in that black hole existential dread that, what if this is all there is to life. And it felt like the last two episodes, even though without getting too spoilery, it felt like a kind of a positive ending, or like a glimmer of hope at the end. It seemed like it was really going down that route of, okay, now that we've lured you into this sense of kind of like the sense of security, we're going to really try to poke and prod at some other things. Little,
We're
little,
gonna rip it apart, quite frankly.
Yes, with a very masterfully done bait and switch. Because I thought I was signing up for a comedy. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a parody of all like this like TikTok therapy and like Zen Buddhism that they're peddling on, like, like Twitter therapy, where it's just like mindfulness and always just being gratitude journals, all that kind of stuff. Nope, they they went in a totally different direction. And I feel like BoJack started off as kind of like the same way. It's a goofy cartoon about
Right.
animals, and by the time it's done, it's a look at like everything from, like generational trauma to like substance
Yep.
abuse to personality and mood disorders, and to like the full spectrum
Yep.
of the like some really dark human experiences. And this kind of, it was just a very similar trajectory. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, it definitely was like, oh shit, like, this is hilarious. Oh my god, these people are ridiculous. Oh no. These people are troubled. Oh no. These people need to let this go. Oh no. And it's like, whoa, hold on. But like, I think it's beautiful, right? I make comments like, oh, this is just how life really is, right? And what do I really mean by that? I think about if you were to like make a TV show about your life, right? And you're given, $1 million, and you get to pitch and produce an entire TV show about your life. Like, you have a lot of decisions to make, right? And it's like, what do you keep in? What do you keep out? What do you say? What do you make sure the camera gets? Who do you cast? And it's like, if we're all honest, there are moments that like appear in this show that are just like moments in real life that like maybe you wouldn't capture because you wouldn't think it was like good enough to be on screen or like, provocative enough, but it is, right? Like some of these little moments, you have to kind of show how they affected the larger moments. And I think, if I was in the room, if I was in the writer's room, I think that's what their point was. They're like, yo, but like, yeah, we all know what road rage is, but like we let's peel back like where it really comes from. Like, yeah, we've all honked at a person and flipped them off, but where does it really come from? And it's like, oh, I'm mad because of the day at work I had with all my goddamn emails. Relatable. Oh, I'm mad at like my family life and my personal relationship. Relatable. Oh, I'm mad because like my fucking parents, we have a terrible relationship. Relatable. Like these are things that people experience and go through, and it's like they just basically took us backwards, right? They basically did like one little thing in life and then they like peeled back the layers and it actually got bigger, right? It's much bigger than just flipping off, but like not only did it become much bigger, but it's like now you're bringing other people into your shit. And that's what I felt like episode 9 was for me. It was like, this is what happens when you bring other people into your shit and you get so entangled with everything. Sam, did you figure out your mic situation? Sam, did you figure it out? I wanted you to be able to answer. Can you guys hear me? Can everyone
Yeah,
hear me
yeah, I can
okay?
hear you.
Okay, good. All right. I don't know what happened with Sam. But Jess, what is the longing and yearning? Like, because for me, that long. Oh, Sam, are you there?
Yeah, is this better?
Slightly, yeah, yeah. So, what's like one sentence that you would say to someone? What is the show about to pitch to someone who hasn't seen it?
Uh, I would say millennial stress.
The show is about millennial stress.
Yeah.
I respect that. I respect that. Jess, what were you gonna say? Go ahead.
Yeah,
About the longing and yearning and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, no, and especially like from Ali Wong, like from her character's perspective, right? It kind of seems like when you meet these characters, um, of course, you get a deeper dive into her marriage, and again, I don't know how spoilery we want to get into this discussion. Like, I haven't really been able to
Yeah.
pop into one of your spaces since we were talking Thor, so totally missed your awesome conversations. But yeah, we'll set the ground rules for that. I don't want to give too much away, but
No, yeah, yeah. This is basically spoilers. If you
okay,
are
cool.
like worried about spoilers here, don't worry about your journey. Like if you've seen enough episodes, we're not gonna spoil too much. We might talk about a scene that you may not have seen yet, but it's gonna hit even harder when you watch it. This is one of those shows that's like, yeah, 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 spoiler, but
Yeah.
take the journey, right? So go ahead, feel free to speak freely.
Okay. No, awesome. Because I do definitely want to give these two actors like flowers upon flowers. Because my God, they set the scenes so well here. Because to me, and actually, you know what? Scrap that. Let me start with Stephen Yeun because to that BoJack Horseman point and to the way that you peel back the layers and they make a pivot on you very quickly. I actually thought it was interesting because you meet like his character and you can tell immediately by the look on his face, just his body language while he's waiting in the line to return all of the like the broilers or whatever it was that he was using. And you could tell obviously like something is because I'm immediately met with like, okay, it's okay, clearly he's not well to do. He's not, he's not doing well in his life. And so I'm thinking, okay, is he scamming? Is he trying to do something with like these different sort of general stores so that he can make money or like you know what I mean? Like you could tell that the
Right,
weight of the world is absolutely on his shoulders, and what we're about
right,
to see is much more than just a road rage incident with the woman that he encounters, right? And then of course you go into the guilt because I'll also throw that in there. From his perspective, there's clearly a lot of guilt and a lot
right.
of like unfulfilled like dreams for his brother, for his parents. Like there's a lot built up in his life, and you kind of see it almost immediately in his eyes. And then for
Right.
Ali Wong's character, like if your husband has to put your gun in a safe because that's the
Right.
only way that you find sexual fulfillment, clearly there's something wrong in you. And you're apparently very rich, you're well to do, like you've got this flower business going on. Like you would think it's beautiful, that beautiful child, like from the outside looking in, you would make assumptions about who she is and her life. um
Right.
and so it's very clear that, you know what, like she took that moment to try to, it's like that cliche thing, right? I did this stupid thing so I could feel alive again. You know what I mean? And you kind of saw that happen in like in this series. Like she almost got hit by this guy, and it immediately became an opportunity for her to try and see if she could feel something. And there's even subtle moments where after, like, he goes to the house thinking that it was her husband, and he finds out that it was her, and then he pisses all over her bathroom floor, and then they're like, she's chasing him down the road, and you can see glee, the subtle moments
Right.
of glee in both of their eyes, as they know that, okay, I think we just stumbled onto something here that might help me escape my terrible, terrible life. And so that's kind of what I mean, where it's like clearly both of
Yep.
these characters had a lot more happening than just like a rough time in a parking lot.
Exactly. And maybe that, and I think that's what happens, right? Like going back to Sam's point about stress, I that opening scene, I love when like shows can create like that stress. I first 10 minutes I'm stressed with the guy. I don't even know this person. Just met this character 5 minutes ago and
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, damn,
you
like
just
what's
know
going
he's not
on?"
well. It's not,
You
something's
just
not
know
right. Yeah.
he's stressed. I'm like, "Damn, I'm stressed too. Why did you return those? What's going on?"
Why do you
Like
have
why
so
why
many? What
why
are
do
you
you have so
doing? What is it
many? What do you
for?
do? Right.
Yeah.
And that's how you commit, right? Like that pilot in a show always matters. Like, damn, okay, well what? No, I have to know. I have to know what these fucking things are for. I have to know why you couldn't return them. I have to know why you just followed this person home like that. Like, chill out, relax. And it's just I think it's exciting to like see, these characters build upon that tension because it was building and building and building and then it burst and you think like that's the end. And then that's where, to me, like to Matt's point earlier, it got kind of really dark and
Hmm.
it kind of, oh, we're about to like really address it. And to me, I think what I really appreciated about this show, it was really, to me, as a deeply angry person in a lot of ways, right? You leave me to me and my therapist to figure that out. But it's like, what happens when your anger doesn't have anywhere to go, right? Like you haven't done the work to know where to direct your anger, and so you just firing from the hip all the time. Everybody's catching strays. Everybody catches strays. You so fucking angry. Like you have no direction and no like fucking constraint. And what was really cool, but also like it was just really well done to me, how they started to make the parallels between Amy and Danny as in their lives, right? Because they're so fucking different, right? Like to your point, Jess, one's very well to do, one's, kind of figured shit out, whether it be luck or not, and one of these guys is just fucking chaotic. But they're both in common. Like George, that kind of central person that like had a great relationship with one of them and a terrible relationship, right, with his wife, right? He's just like, damn, maybe you're like are both depressed. Y'all should talk to each other, right? And it was just so ironic, but so well done that like, oh, what do you have in common, broke boy, with a rich woman? So, Sam, what do you think? Sam?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, I'm driving. So, the reason those are all great points, and the reason that I said stress and millennial stress, particularly, is because like they went over the parallels of things they had in common and things they and how much they were different, although they had so much in common. And not just the singular road rage incident, which was the cherry on top, but the accumulation of other types of things that like you said made the gasket blow. In everyday things like
Right.
bills, interpersonal
Mm-hmm.
relationships, romance, taking care of kids, taking care of your aging parents.
Right.
growing up in the 80s and the early 90s, which was like, I think it was the episode before last, or it was either the ninth or the last episode where they were talking about, yeah, we grew up in the age of the internet and porn and, where you could smoke and all that different types of things. Uh, so I related to it because it was just kind of a everyday look at some of the things that, we as millennials have to deal with. Uh, we don't we don't all have these particular things in common, but the people that are different, like she was, like you said, well to do. He was a working class guy, but they were born in the same year. They were first generation. Well, I think he was, or anyway, they're pretty much first generation Asian Americans. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that was another thing that I like too. They talk about like ethnic differences and assimilating in
Yeah.
America as Asians. Uh, so that's kind of the reasoning behind why I gave that tagline.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, right? 'Cause let's can we get into the cheating? I love cheating as a topic. It's like it's so much fun because it gets everyone riled up. But let's talk about it though because I like the point about millennial, like, because I didn't see that at first, but I appreciate you saying that because you're right. They were about the same age, even though their lives were so different. Those later episodes were intentional about showing us the commonalities. And I think what I really enjoyed was like how this is really millennial and Gen Z and on, right? He was cheating by liking her pictures and like developing an emotional entanglement, right? Like that's a new thing. Instagram is what, 2010, 2012, whatever. When did Instagram get created, right? And so it really took a deep dive into like, okay, different ways of cheating now, right? Because like I said, back in the 80s, you weren't cheating by liking women's pictures on Instagram, right? Just because you couldn't do it, you know. Back in the 80s, you weren't cheating and there's more ways to cheat. There's different ways to cheat now. And so I was a little shook because it does some of these things not only do that. I keep saying the word innocuous because I really think that that's what the show's about. Like what happens when the seemingly innocuous things go unchecked, right? And it's like, okay, so, like, I think it was, like, 2 episodes that passed before she had, like, the whole plan to, like, seek her vengeance and go and screenshot the girls with the nice tits and, attract another, Asian American man with this, basic white woman with tits out on Instagram, right? Like, they were trying to, like, create a whole scene around that because Steven Yeun and his brother were like, "You need to get you a nice Korean man like mom or Korean woman like mom and dad said," right? But remember in that short moment, she sees that her husband is liking those photographs. And it's like, oh, why is my husband? Never mind. I got shit to do, right? And that's where she like chose to apply her energy, was not to addressing her relationship, to building a new one to make sure she could get back at this guy that like followed her home and because she flipped him off, right? And it's just like, oh, here we go, peeling back the layers. So the cheating to me was interesting, right? Like how did y'all feel about like that progression of that story? Because it just started off as like liking pictures and it wasn't really clear if, her fine ass husband George was like cheating or what kind of cheating. We knew he was cheating, but like to what extent? And then she full on like has sex with the brother, right? So it's like, oh shit, I don't even know if I can sit with him cheating because she's cheating and she's cheating. Like that was a phenomenal sex scene. I was really just excited from like a industry enjoyment perspective that like we got a really nice, fun, intimate cheating sex scene. That's fun. You've seen the discourse online. Oh, sex scenes and intimacy. It's so weird and blah, blah, blah. I think they did a phenomenal job with that one, right? To show the passion and then how quickly it crashed right after too. All of these are spoilers, right? Like how quickly it crashed right after they had this passionate, intimate sex where they could release their anger, right? And then he's just like, fucking bitch. And she's like, oh my God, not you calling me a bitch in my house, right? And they just like made each other orgasm. And so it was crazy to watch that. But like the way that George was cheating was very millennial. Like, oh, babe, I had an emotional entanglement with a girl I saw online that I liked her pictures, and I was actually just like screenshotting the caption, and you're masturbating to her pictures. Remember, like, how did y'all feel about that? Because that, I was just like, oh my God, I would be so embarrassed. Because it's like, for me, it wasn't even that he was doing this. Because, oh my God, she works for me. Like, literally masturbate to any other girl's pictures. What is going on? I see this girl every day. She works for me. Matt, Jess, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess the girls, we gotta talk because look, here's my
Girl.
thing. Beyond like, okay, beyond him being fine, because we do not have enough of that conversation. He looked good. He dressed good. Can we talk about the fashions? The fashions, the way
Ugh,
the clothes were laying on the butt. Anyways, we move. Here's the
truly,
thing about it for
truly.
me, like he lied. He lied about it beyond the generations, beyond it being millennial cheating versus anything else. If I
Right.
remember correctly, she called him on it, right? She called him on like some of that online activity. I think she could tell that
Yep.
woman's intuition, that his interest was being piqued in other places. There's a lot going on between them, right? For her it was
Yep.
guns, for him it was Instagram. There's a lot going on. They're a weird relationship, you know. Love them. Do what y'all got to do, you know. But to me, where it starts and what's like just universal about what it means to be unfaithful and to break trust in a relationship is the
Right.
fact that he looked in her face and he lied about it.
Yep.
Period. No matter what it is, no matter what we're talking about. And at least we could say, okay, yes, like down the line, she actually ends up having sex with his
Right.
younger brother and it becomes a whole thing. But what's
So
interesting to
so
me,
messy.
right? But the thing that's interesting to me, I don't know if anybody else feels this, like you don't really start to feel like that her character can be redeemed, despite the fact that, okay, we can say practically she took it a whole lot further than him, but you don't really feel like she can be redeemed until she looks him in his eyes and she tells him the truth. Like
Yep.
he messed up. He was trying to send her something else, and then he ended up sending her a picture of the girl, and then he
And then
kept
gonna
on trying to lie about it.
gaslighter.
So that's the
Yep.
difference to me. Is like at the very
Hmm.
least she was like more upfront in a lot of ways about where her flaws were, and even when she could feel it starting to spiral with all the things that were happening outside of her relationship, like eventually like she kind of understood she needs to be honest, and her husband didn't have that moment until like divorce was put on the table again, until certain, you know what I mean, it took a way lot more for things to happen for me to feel like, okay, does her husband like, does he have common sense here? Like, what can they actually meet on a level? Because he wasn't honest for a very long time throughout this series.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to an extent. I think I disagree with her being. She wasn't honest either. I think he wasn't honest first, and so right, we got to peel back her trauma because it was a show about Danny and Al or Danny and Amy, but she
Yeah,
wasn't honest either because after he.
yeah, fair. But I'm referring more to like that, like maybe like the episode like 6, maybe episode like 5 or 6, where they finally have that come to Jesus moment, right? And like, and she starts to really like have the conversation about where she's been at and what's happening, and she doesn't, and even, and maybe what it is too, maybe what's also sticking out in my mind is the fact that like his mother kind of almost like left her an out, like gave her a path that she could have taken to kind of like live in the lie, right? Like his mom was willing to actually, kind of play the middleman in this weird way to keep the deception going, and almost for her as opposed to her son, because I guess she sees, something lucrative, not only just lucrative, because she does say, you know what, like you were good for my son as well, and you brought out
Right.
the creativity in my son, like you guys were good for one another. So, after their shopping trip or whatever, she basically says, yeah, I'll tell him that it was all a mistake, that like you didn't sleep with him, like whatever, you know what I mean, like she was
Right.
willing to create this path for them to move on still in the lie, and she decided not to take that route. And I guess that's what's sticking out to me more than anything, where it's like, okay, she's actually trying to like lay it
Yeah.
all out on the table.
But for me with the cheating though, like it's weird, right? We and this is where we all like we will participate in posturing and we will like have to evaluate like within ourselves and like just place a hierarchy on like what's the best decision and who's cheating more or what, which like as soon as you go down that path you see like no, it's really not even like who's treating more or worse or first or last or whatever, because if you think about it, she was right, he called it an emotional entanglement. So in my head, strictly regarding cheating, he had been developing this relationship before the road rage. So he had already been kind of snooping around on Instagram and just happened to, take the most accessible pretty woman that he could find in his eyes, which is a woman that he worked for. And in the moment, literally catfish, you know, her road rage counterpart. She sees that, but then she steals this girl's pictures. She's someone else to like get someone else. And it's like, I don't really have like the space to like talk about my man liking photos right now because I'm literally fostering another relationship, though it's not romantic. I am literally fostering an entire new relationship with a whole stranger just to get back at them. And I'm hiding it from my husband. And I am kind of like, George said it at the end, like you endangered our child. Like you don't know these people and how far shit can go, right? And I think it was intentional when they told us how long George was like cheating, right? It's like, oh, 2 weeks, blah 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 blah. And it was interesting that like the moment that he couldn't get his dick up while they were having sex, and he was like, all right, let me tell the truth, like I feel bad because I was talking to this girl for 2 weeks and I cut it off right when you sold the thing. It was like that to me was her opportunity to tell him that she fucked another man. Like that was her opportunity to do that and she didn't. And I was like, tell him quickly right now, like let's figure this shit out right now. And she did it. And so that's why to me, I'm like, I don't know that she was honest, but we were in the show, like forced to at least see her self-awareness more than George. And I think that was just because of the show's setup, not really because she was more honest, but she was definitely more self-aware, which I think is like, akin to honesty. Whereas George was like, all right, I'm a gaslight, I'm this great guy, which no, you're not, George. You're a fucking liar, just like your wife. You're both liars. You just purport more stuff, and you're the stay-at-home dad, right? And it's a little misogyny mixed in there because if she was a stay-at-home mom, it would just be expected. She wouldn't be all of a sudden this great person because she's a stay-at-home mom because that's what is expected of women, right? So I like how we really didn't even get to sit with George too much, but I definitely, because of that, I definitely didn't really form any empathy. I'm like, this guy is a piece of shit. Like, get over it. Your wife's, and she doesn't give you enough attention. Oh, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
cut out.
we can. You're cutting in and out a little bit, but we can hear you now.
Okay, good. And it was just like, oh no, oh, my wife is so rich and never has time for me and the kids, and this is not how I saw my life going, right? And it's like, oh, brother, like, get a grip, like, sell your vases or don't, bro. Like, I think you're so hot, I would, dabble with you too, but sir, please, like, just relax. Oh goodness, are we okay now? It says my connection is lost. Can y'all
You
hear
were you
me?
were good on the last one. It came through without any
Okay,
cutting out.
okay, good.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear
So
you now.
for me, it's like the cheating was exciting to me because it was like, ooh, who's gonna find out? Who's gonna be honest? And I really appreciate that they went there, right? Like, because you are, taking a huge risk when you cheat in the way that Amy did with the young kid that you barely even know, talking about you're not gonna do anything physical. Girl, yes, you are. Oh my God, I love that scene. Was I the only one that loved that scene? Where she was like, remember, nothing physical. And then they immediately cut to having sex.
Smash
I was
cut
like,
to.
yeah, been there, been there,
So,
been
Yeah,
there, guys.
saw that one coming. I wish they could have put like prop bets on FanDuel, so I could have said like, yeah, it's gonna happen.
yeah, that was
I'm
ridiculous.
telling you, I was like, yeah,
That
I've
was
been
ridiculous.
there. Yeah, I'm with it. I can relate. We're not
Yeah,
doing
but did no
any of
one
that
else find it
nastiness.
predictable though?
Yes, you
Like I
are.
found it so
Yes, you are.
predictable because
But I
again,
like that.
like
I like that they really kind of tore her down the entire time. It
yeah,
was like, damn. And it forces you to like decide who you're going to empathize with. And I think it was cool that I was like, I think I empathize with almost everybody in this show But then there was a point where I felt really good about myself because I was like, nah, see, I'm a black woman. And that's why I appreciate like the cultural aspect of it. Because I was like, I'm a black woman. I know the consequences of me not checking my anger, right? Like, my life will go down to shit. So I have to find other channels for my anger. You know what I mean? Like, that shit is not going to work out for me. So that's how I felt. I see Five Ola. How are you?
It's Shala. Yeah,
Hello,
yeah. Can you hear me?
Five Ola. We cannot hear you.
Oh, um,
Okay, we're gonna mute the
Oh,
mic.
I can.
But
We can hear him. I think. Maybe if he drops down to listener and then tries to come back as speaker.
oh, okay. Is it just me that can't hear him?
Yeah, I heard him. I heard him as well.
Yeah, I can hear him fine.
Oh, dang, it's just me. Okay.
If he dropped it,
Hello, Five Ola. Yes, go
okay,
ahead.
okay. Yeah, I've been listening for just for a bit, just to kind of listen. And yeah, I watched. I've been actually talking about it for like the past few days on my timeline. Yeah, it's a crazy show, and but to go straight to the point of what you're talking about. You know, I understand where you're coming from. A lot of what you're saying. Don't want to make this into gender wars. But I feel as though if the roles were reversed, I don't think you would see George in the way that you see him. I don't think his interaction with Amy's staff is proportionate to what Amy ends up doing with Danny's brother. I keep forgetting his name. I think it's Paul, right? So I don't think it's justified that she actually went out and actually had sex and she caught him over and all of that. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's a fair comparison. I don't think it's proportionate at all. I think she kind of, yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I wasn't saying that. What I think I was saying was that it doesn't really matter um who was done worse or not because I don't think this show. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Did I
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
over
we
you?
can hear you.
Okay. Um, I don't think I was saying that like we should look at these things as proportionate. I was saying that whether they're proportionate or not, I, don't like either of them. And I think what I think I'm saying is that this show really wasn't ever going to be about George. So like our feelings about George are secondary, if not tertiary, to like the larger theme of the show. All I'm saying is that he was also wrong. And so you're right. So maybe it sounds like me saying they're both wrong, that they're like both wrong on the same level. I'm saying it doesn't matter whether it's like different level or not. I think they were both kind of fucked up. I think they both did weird shit. And I think naturally Amy did, right? Depends on your relationship, right? I think we can generally agree in monogamy, like actually fucking someone is, worse than, masturbating to their pictures. Sure, but I also just don't think that matters in the conversation because like Amy was fucked up, right? And that's why I was saying like I love how they tore her the fuck down. Like she hit a lot of fucking walls because she had unaddressed anger, because she was dishonest, because she was so fucking, spiteful and vengeful, right? Like I like there were so many moments like if you go back, like you can count how many times almost every character in the show called Amy a bad person, right? Like what does that mean? Like you all had done fucked up shit in this show, right? But almost everybody was like, no, you're not a good person. And I think that was intentional, right? It's like, oh, Miss, oh, just trying to, take care of her family and making all the money, right? And I think it was intentional that they did that to your point, Five, although like if it was a man, we'd just be like, you ain't shit, bye, right? But like there's this time where because it's a woman, we're like, oh, she's just trying to take care of her family and oh no and oh no. But it's like, no, you're not a nice person. You're not a good person. You are actually like don't care about anybody but yourself. And there was like a point where yes, you were trying to, make millions of dollars and you worked hard for Koyo House and you're doing this and you're doing this, but like you have not taken the time to build relationships. And I think this goes back to what Jess was saying earlier, that she had a moment of honesty when Paul like was like saying, I'll be a millionaire in no time. She was like, whoa, I don't even have a relationship with my husband and daughter as a result of me being a fucking millionaire, right? And so it separated them again. It created that distance again with like the people that are millionaires and the people that are working class. It's like, whoa, 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 right? And you for a second empathize with a millionaire. For a second, you're like, oh, damn, okay, are the millions worth having zero relationships? Which is why, if it's not clear that she doesn't have a relationship with her husband and her child, that's why, what's her face? What's her face? The girl that was trying to, her neighbor. It was like, that's why
I think
they
it's like
put the show,
Jamie.
Jamie. That's why they put her in there. And it's like, look how this woman actually has like Naomi, okay, has actually like screwed up the opportunities that she might have had to create real relationships along the way. Like even Jordana, whatever her name is, Jordan or Jordana, was like this awful human being that was like obviously just trying to like, make money, and it's like a billionaire. No one cares about a billionaire's feelings. But she was like, what's important is like our relationships. I want to get to know who you are. And even Amy was like, nah, I'm good, bro. I am good. Just give me the money. I just want to go back and like fix my relationship with my family and my kids, or and my kid and my husband, bro. And it's like Amy just isn't intentional about building relationships with anybody. Amy doesn't have a relationship with anybody. You even see it at the end. She doesn't even have a relationship with her parents. Her parents. He's like, you would know if you talked to us the last 2 years. Amy hasn't talked to her parents in 2 years. And then it's like, all right, we've torn down Amy enough. Well, why is Amy like this, right? Why does Amy feel this way? And it was like, oh, and now there's like that touch of empathy that we have for Amy growing up, and hearing her parents say that like they didn't even want her, they didn't even plan for her. Like, what is she doing here? Like, oh, like she almost probably grew up with a lot of guilt that like her parents, were struggling because she was born. And how do you deal with like feeling like you're the burden of your own parents that are providing a life for you, right? So,
So
yeah.
like what's funny is that as you're actually saying all of this, I find myself feeling bad because I feel like now actually I'm very much similar to Amy, so I can't really even I can't even really judge her. I'm starting to see it that way now, because I mean you're
Yeah.
right. Like she really is detached from a lot of things, from a lot of people, and she's very much like only intentional about like she has that like bullseye vision, but she only sees what she wants to achieve at the moment, and
Yep.
she like neglects like everybody else and everything else, and then she kind of just is just like focused on what's in front of her, and she doesn't really care about the guy or anyone. And but oh sorry, but one thing I would point to is, I'm sorry, I'm driving. One thing I will point out though, there are antecedents prior to the road rage incident. She very much, like I mean, like you've already established, she already had a bunch of failing relationships, even with her own kid. So
Right.
that's kind of why, like, I don't know, I find myself wanting to just, yes, George is screwed up because like George just reminds me a lot of like everybody on LinkedIn with that bullshit like toxic positivity shit. Like that's what he
I
reminds
tell
me of.
you, bro. Whoa, boy. Sorry, you triggered something there. My bad. Continue.
No, go. Sorry. What did you say? I didn't catch that.
Oh no, I was just saying because I work with LinkedIn quite a bit, so I was just
Yeah,
I hate it and I'm sick of it. So I just said, let me tell you, like, bro, yeah,
yeah.
you nailed it. But with he's a human LinkedIn motivational post. Like
I
that's what he is.
swear. I swear. So like, I mean,
Meanwhile, yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
And I think it's crazy to watch, right? Like, yeah, like guys, what real relationship did Amy have? You can't answer that. The room is gonna stay silent because she doesn't have any. She doesn't have any relationships. We watched 10 episodes. Amy doesn't have anyone, right? And they made sure that they intentionally addressed that later on in the final episode when she was like, someone's gonna come pick me up by morning. He was like, no, no one's gonna pick you up. No one likes you. What are you talking about? Who's gonna come get you, girl? Who? At least Danny has also, severed every one of his fucking relationships as well. But if we, back to Matt's point about betting, if I had to bet be picked up first, Amy or Danny, I'd put my money on Danny. Someone's gonna come find Danny. I think Danny's parents would at least come and check for his ass first. Who would you bet that we would be found first, like before anybody, right? If that was like the bet that you could place before episode 10. My money's on Danny.
Danny, and you know what about the thing about Danny is like I feel like like there's that scene that's going around where he's at church and he's crying, like the thing about that scene, and then like when you kind of learn about what he did later on to his brother, and like when you find out like the big secret of what it like with the college applications, the thing about that scene, it kind of makes me go back and wonder like if this guy can do that kind of thing and then still cry. For me, it just makes me like dislike him. Not really dislike him, but like it makes him like even a much bigger narcissist to me because
Yeah.
like I mean, how can you cry
Which
and
is
then like yeah,
which
but at
is
the same
why.
time like
Mhm.
yeah, but at the same time like there's at least it seems to be a little more self-aware that he's not a victim of the entire world. Like the way Amy feels like she is a victim of everything. Danny seems to have a little more like self-awareness about like, okay, I'm not really the victim in all of this, all the time.
Yeah.
I'm also fucked up. So he has a little more self-awareness that makes him more
A,
forgivable
a
than Amy.
tiny bit more, right? Like a tiny bit
Yeah,
more. 'Cause
yeah,
I think my girl Amy's pretty self-aware. He has a tiny, like a little teeny tiny bit more. 'Cause they're both, and thank you for
right.
like true, right? Like that parallel is like narcissism. They're both narcissists, whether you're rich or working class. You got negative 2,000 in the bank or 200,000 in the bank. Y'all are both fucking narcissists. You don't really care. Everybody should just succumb to whatever you got going on. You know best. Everybody else is just, secondary to you. You don't care about fostering any relationships. You'll manipulate the fuck out of every conversation you have. Both Danny and Amy did that, right? Because we go back to the point of Danny telling Amy, or no, who was it that told Amy about like who was it that told Amy, or somebody said something to Amy or Danny about like the relationships that they had, and that like no one trusted them, or no one was it Naomi again? I keep forgetting that girl's name. Oh, we were supposed to care about her a little bit more. That was her issue.
I think it was
But
Jamie that told Amy. I'm not sure.
who is Jamie?
Is Jamie not like the sister in, like the
The
is
assistant? I thought that's Jamie.
what's her name
Okay.
her boss's like wife or something.
It doesn't matter. I think
The
the
one.
the
Oh
the,
yeah,
the
yeah.
point I'm trying to make is that I think it was interesting to see the parallels between Amy and Matt. Real quick, someone's in the audience, and she just tweeted that George is Mr. Peanut Butter. So to your earlier point, to
Wow.
align BoJack, yeah. I don't know if you're Shawnee, if you're in the room, that's what he was saying earlier. Was like how we were talking earlier about how would you pitch this show to someone who hasn't seen it in one, as one quick sentence, and he was like, it's just like BoJack, right? And so George is Mr. Peanut Butter. He's this fake. He's like a motivation poster, right? And he's just kind of slapped on the wall, and he's like, oh, we're so good and we're so chill and everything's chill. Meanwhile, you have a lot of unaddressed shit too. Like, full stop, George. Like, okay, you feel jealous. Okay, you feel jealousy. Maybe you're no longer angry, or, you don't have the same type of rage and you don't channel it in that same way, but you're jealous. You're angry that your vases aren't selling, right? He had a moment of anger when he was expressing to Amy, I didn't want to be a fucking stay at home dad. I do something every day that I don't want to do, but thank God I enjoy it because I love my daughter. But be clear, like, you're not the only one miserable here, right? Like, yes, I get to spend time with our daughter, but I want to sell my vases. And actually, don't even, pretend like you're too much better than me, because we started off because of my parents' money. So chill out, Miss Amy, right? And so I think it was just like that really cool, like, if back and forth between Amy and George that kind of had, like, it kind of made me sad. I don't know how it made y'all feel, but it kind of made me sad because I was like, damn, like, they really just don't like each other, which is sad, right? It's sad when you get to a point in a marriage where it's not about the lack of love. It's I don't even like you no more, bro. That's crazy. I don't even like you. I don't like you. I don't like where our lives go together. I kind of want to see where my life would go without you. And that's tragic, right? In a sense of like, a long-term relationship and a child that is trying to grow up in a home where, her parents are influencing her decisions and blah blah blah, two parent household, this that and the third. But it's like, how healthy is that when the motherfuckers don't even like each other? And I think that was interesting to watch. And then Danny's ass, my god, Danny is so manipulative. Danny is miserable, but like, you want to empathize because everyone in this room is significantly more closer to Danny in financial terms than a billionaire, right? Significant. Like, we can't even fathom billions, right? And not to say that Amy's a billionaire, but she, at least was rubbing elbows with a billionaire, right? And, about to make a little $10 million, right? Most of us are much closer to Danny's kind of way. So I'm sure that a lot of us felt empathy in those kind of aspects because it's like, damn, like, sometimes working your ass off does make you kind of cutthroat. It does get you frustrated with other people. But that moment where it was like Paul was really like held a mirror to Danny in a lot of this show. And you don't respect Paul necessarily, right? Because he's just like a moocher, a floater, right? What is he, like a, what do you call these people? A grifter, whatever the hell. He's just like kind of, this throughout this whole episode, you're like, all right, Paul, I hear ya. Yeah, Danny's probably fucking annoying, but also get your shit together. And then you find out that Danny kind of ripped apart his chances to get his shit together, and you're like, oh my god, Danny, you're really like a terrible person. No wonder you two got into this road rage in the middle of this parking lot. Y'all are terrible people that don't want to see anybody else win, have complete tunnel vision on like what you guys want, and you will bring everybody else the fuck down with you. And that is so scary to me. Like, Danny and Amy are terrifying people to me. I don't ever want people like that around me, bro, rich or poor, right? Rich or working class. It's like you think that your path to address any void that you have is worth more than any other relationship or any other life out there. And that's terrifying, right? Like, y'all got some shit to address. And so that's why these little moments hit hard when characters got to get their bars off for some of these, like at Danny and at Amy every now and then, right? Like, there were moments throughout this whole show where somebody got to get a bar off one of them, and it was like, you're right. Every bar, like, if you watch this show again, everything that everyone said to Amy and Danny was correct. Every single time one of them dragged, was like, you're not a good person. Address this. What the fuck is your problem? You ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be shit. Like, all of that was like, yeah, y'all kind of have a point. And to me, it also, and I'll let Jess and Matt talk now, and Sam, thank you for joining the stage again. It was interesting to me because it really affirmed me that, like, it actually doesn't take too long when you meet someone to like figure out if they can fit in your life and how they can fit in your life. Like, and I don't mean that like everybody you meet you should know immediately where they stand, right? Like, relationships grow and change. But what I mean to say is that you can do enough to where like you can recognize what a person might make you feel and what a person might like be able to make you experience very early on. And I say that because a lot of people were able to determine whether they wanted to be around Danny or Amy pretty early on, right? It took like two or three, the first impression and a couple other things, and that assistant was like, you're kind of a bitch, and, people meeting Danny were like, you're kind of chaotic. Why you always got this shit going on? What's going on? And it just doesn't take too much time to really kind of see, I guess, where someone is in their life in that point, right? And that's not who they are, but just like in their life at that point, you can kind of see where y'all are going to mix and match at that point in your lives. And then you're like, okay, do I want to go forward with this or not? And it's just like, I think George was that kind of, he's not neutral, but that like LinkedIn poster motivator is where George acted like sort of like in juxtaposition with both of them, that like, oh, I can tell you got a little off energy. I can tell you kind of maybe you're depressed. I'm not a medical person. I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist, but like maybe you got some issues. Maybe you need to talk to someone. Okay. Oh, you don't actually care about anybody but yourself, right? Like those kind of like tendencies and character traits, you can pretty much figure that out within the first few moments of meeting people. And that's why it was so ironic and so dark when Jordana herself was trying to have a conversation with Amy before the deal. And she was like, the money is like, sure, 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 sure. But like, we kind of got, I want to get to know who I'm about to work with. And it was like, as much as we don't relate to Jordana, don't give a fuck about Jordana, right? Rich white woman, right? Like they were, this Asian American show wanted us to be sure, like, no, you're different. You're a white woman, right? Like, get over there, stay over there. But she was kind of spitting at Amy when she said that, like, because Amy doesn't care about, establishing any real relationships. She's narcissistic. She only cares about herself and her deal, but she believes that she has a good path, right? Because she only cares about herself and her deal so that she could be there for her daughter. And that's where we psych ourselves out and think that we're good people and think that what we're doing is right. Because my end goal, as I treat everybody terribly on this road, is really just I could talk to my daughter. And it's like, well, yeah, that's not really virtuous, because the reason why you can't talk to your daughter that much is because you had this goal in the first place. So that was like, that kind of hit hard for me, because it was like, damn, Amy, you really ain't shit. That's crazy. I wanted to like you. Matt, Jess?
I was going back to the topic of it being.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Oh,
you, Matt.
Can I not hear
okay.
people again?
I'll
Yeah,
drop.
we can hear Matt, but I don't think you can hear him, host.
Okay. Matt, can you speak again? Let me see if it's me, guys. It'd be me. What we watch, can you speak and hear everybody?
Yo, what's good? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Let's try
you.
this again. Can you hear me this time?
Yes, I
All
can.
right, yeah. Sometimes I'll co-host a space and I always just tell someone like, "Oh, if I can't hear you, just drop out, drop to listening, and then come back up." That usually solves it. I wanted to go back to the point about it being kind of just like a millennial, because I hadn't thought of it as sort of a millennial anger or millennial frustration show. I just thought of it as anger and frustration. Like going back to the point about how how George got caught, right? He got caught
Yeah.
sending a person the wrong photo or the wrong attachment. Like go around the room. How many of you have ever had one of those oh shit moments? I don't mean necessarily like cheating or anything like that, but have you ever sent an email to the wrong person or just forwarded the wrong like
Yeah.
document and had that oh shit terror moment?
Yeah. Clap, send a clap or 100 emoji if you've been there. Whomst among us, that's my third favorite line. Whomst among us, honestly. Okay. It's a rookie mistake in the cheating intimate game. If you need pointers, come to me on that. I tell you what, the rookie mistake, don't do that. But we've all sent an email or a text or a screenshot to the wrong person. George's lie was so terrible. Yuck. If Amy had any kind of care for her relationship at all, she would have immediately clocked that and redirected her revenge to that as opposed to this man. But go ahead, because my bar is that like Amy was kind of cheating, but she was cheating. She was also an emotional entanglement, right? Which I think it was so ironic. I think the writers purposely said that, like, "Oh, babe, I was in an emotional entanglement." Well, so was she, but hers was a passion and rage and yours was a passion and love, right? And that's where it was like, that was really cool to me. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, and it just felt like a kind of like a interesting flip on like the older way of doing it would have been kind of like an unfulfilled housewife. Instead, she's an unfulfilled career woman with a house husband who's also unfulfilled, right? So it's like covering all kinds of like it's taking that same kind of topic and kind of just flipping it on its head in a way that I thought was interesting. And
Yep.
it's also a nice commentary on how, all these people are very unfulfilled. There's a lot of rage and anger. And it's like, what does it look like when you have these things and you let them fester? And instead of actually addressing them, you kind of just like, instead of reinforcing the foundation of the house or whatever, you're just kind of using like duct tape to hold everything together. And I think the duct tape is all that fake deep LinkedIn kind of like motivational stuff that George is talking about. You know what I mean, right? Like when they're just sitting there in that pose on the bed for like 30 minutes, not actually saying anything or communicating with each other. And then they finally, like, they drop the bomb of like, oh yeah, I've been, imagining what life would have been like if we had never met. Okay, we're not going to talk about that anymore. It's just like,
Right? It's terrifying. I was having a conversation with my friend earlier about like how terrifying it is to like be honest with the people you love. Because it's like, oh shit, are you even gonna have this conversation with me? Are you gonna ask for a divorce? Are you gonna end this relationship? And it's just so terrifying to be honest. But look at the alternative. If you motherfuckers would just talk it out, maybe like 5 people wouldn't be dead. Like, did y'all ever consider that? Like, maybe 5 people wouldn't be dead right now if you would have just stopped being a coward and talked to your husband, okay? And if you would have stopped being a coward, Danny, and talk to your brother and talk to your parents and stop thinking that like y'all's path down life is the only one that matters and everybody needs to get on the train. For me, episode 8, 9, and 10 really showed that, right? It's like, right, it was, to me it's like that quote, misery loves company, right? Like, they, Amy and Danny, brought quite literally like 17 people into their shit out of a web of lies, just lie after snitch after revenge plan, just bringing more and more people in, right? Like, Amy didn't have to bring Jordana into it. Now you gonna have somebody rob my house? Because I'm like, Jesus Christ, now I'm dead. It was like, all right, we didn't like Jordana, but she didn't have to die. Like, good grief? And it was like, oh, damn, we didn't like, Isaac, but he didn't have to, like, go out like that with the cops. Like, damn, we don't like the cops. Like, and it was just like, because y'all have this unchecked honesty issue, you have this unchecked rage and anger, you don't address things in your relationships, and like you said, Matt, you let it fester. That's what road rage is, right? It's just a byproduct of your anger just festering all fucking day, right? And as someone that has definitely cursed at many a people, right? Thank goodness, knock on wood, I haven't been in this beef situation, thank God. But like, I'm not above it, right? Like, I've been close enough where it's like, hold on, I'm about to lean outside of my car and yell at you because who the fuck are you talking to? Mind you, I thought that scene was so cute, right? Where they both, once again, like that intentional parallel of the guy was like, are y'all gonna move? And they both had their little moment where they were cussing at him and leaning outside of their car. Like, I felt seen, okay? Been there, done that, totally understand. But like, I've also had people be like, yo, Mo, like, chill out. And it's like, please don't tell me to chill out. I'm upset. All right. I'm allowed to be upset about someone driving stupidly. All right. I'm allowed to be upset about someone, nearly like affecting my car, which would really inconvenience me. Right. And I think that's where we kind of like justify our road rage. It's like, sure, if you get into a car wreck, Amy, you can just, file insurance and get a new car because you're rich. He, Danny can't do that. If Danny's car gets fucked up, like, Danny's gonna be in some shit. Danny's car is not even his name anymore because he can't afford anything. Danny lives in a motel. Danny's trying to make sure his brother's okay, even though we realize that's his fault. And so it was just like, while we continue to see the parallels, it was also like glaring how different the consequences were. So they had a task in this show to like really show a rich person and a not so rich person and a broke person, quite frankly, like experience similar consequences, right? Like that's a task because money is supposed to kind of significantly change the issues that you have. It doesn't eliminate issues. It just creates a whole new set of them, right? And they reminded you when there were conversations and she was like, "Look, I'll give you 10 racks. I'll give you 25 racks." Does anybody in the room right now have 10 or $25,000 to make one of their problems go away? Congrats to you, congrats to us, right? But it's like that's how easily, like, all right, I was mad. Let me throw 25,000 at this guy to lie on this tip, situation. And that's the kind of long money that differentiated Amy from Danny. So, Sam, what do you think? What did you like about like the parallels between them and also like the differences and how they showed those?
Someone spoke on this earlier. I had to get off and come back on, but I think it was you or Five Ola. I think he said his name was Shola. But anyway, how Amy didn't have any real relationships. She had conventional wisdom relationships that you're supposed to have, grow up, get married, have kids, yada yada yada. But she didn't have anyone that she could talk to,
Yeah.
or express dynamic feeling to. And that other person was uh, what's his name? Danny. So she met Danny. She clearly didn't love him. But you know how they say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. She had this strong feelings toward him that she didn't have towards anyone else. I mean, she loved her daughter clearly, but she had that whole monologue at the end where she was talking about how do you believe in unconditional love? I thought I used to have it with my daughter, but as she gets older, it becomes more and more conditional. As she gets to the age where she has the ability to reason. So she had this relationship with Danny, an obsessive, very dynamic, uh, opposite end of the spectrum, passionate feeling toward him, and it wasn't
Yeah.
love, hate, and that
And
was, and she didn't have that with anybody else, and he didn't have that with anybody else too, as well. He had family members that he loved, but he was manipulative towards them, and he broke those relationships with his brother, with Isaac, with his former girlfriend, who was with the youth pastor or whatever the fuck he is now. I forget her name.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and it all kind of was brought together when I guess the whole scene at the house where all those people died. Billionaire
So many
lady
people.
died very gruesomely, like some Black Mirror type shit.
Right.
But everyone else escaped they went their separate ways, whether it was death, whether they got out, whether they went to jail, like Isaac. But they both ended up back together with road rage in two cars. They went over the fucking hill and they had to confront these emotions that they had towards each other, which was obsession, which was quote unquote hate.
I
But
love that.
also, they needed each other to survive in the
Mm.
world. So they got high as fuck on. I don't know what that shit was.
It
I,
really,
I,
it really opened. Shola, let me. Is it Shola? Thank you, Sam, for
yeah,
telling
yeah,
me.
yeah.
I think they said that
Shola.
earlier and you didn't hear them. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's a
Thank you
Six
guys
Flags
for being
It's a
patient. My
Six Flags
audio is weird.
situation.
I'm in a different location doing this spaces, but we dedicated. Sam, thank you for saying that. Right, like it's obvious, right? I have an entire community and business based off of celebrating artists, marginalized artists specifically, and these Asian American stories, and just like these independent studios or independent artists, excuse me, pitching to studios and getting their artists out or getting their creativity and their art out. And like I love watching film and television. I think Sam, you really just hit on a good point that we've kind of all been dancing around, but like I want to like bring it home, right? Like very specifically, I was saying this earlier, and Sam, you and I are on the same page. Amy was also cheating, right? This kind of opened Pandora's box. If not opened Pandora's box, it really introduced a new look at quote unquote cheating. Amy developed a deep passionate relationship fueled by hate, which to Sam's point is not the opposite of love, right? In fact, the energy expended in the relationship outside of her marriage was the exact same. It was just the gasoline was different. It was like, it's not love and romance that I feel, it's fucking anger. And I'm going to dedicate my time and energy to develop this relationship. And this relationship is just hitting someone back and forth, right? I'm going to wait till he hit me back and I'm going to hit him back and he go. And that is a lot of energy to spend outside of your husband and your child, right? And then she also then develops a like passionate sexual relationship with the brother. Like, Amy, this is a lot, baby girl. Like, Amy, you gotta calm. Like, you're doing a lot, right? But to Sam's point, that is like the only place that she found invigoration. Like, that was the only thing that really like gave her life meaning, right? Doesn't that sound like something that, like, regardless of what it is, I found meaning outside of my husband and my child and my career, and it was in making sure that your life was miserable. That sounds like an emotional entanglement to me. So there was so many opportunities for Amy to just like recognize that the girl was, that, sis was spiraling, and I think even at the point that she did recognize it, she was just like, well, fuck it, I'm already here, so I'm just gonna keep spiraling, fuck it. And it was like, it's a peculiar look at like, what if it's not love that's taking you out of your relationship? What if it's hate? What if you hate somebody so much outside of your relationship that that's why it's deteriorating, right? And I think it was important to have that moment with her and Paul. I'm sorry, her and George. And George was like, "Damn, why were you so obsessed with him?" That would be the exact same question that he would ask her if she was fucking the guy, or like, if she liked the guy. It's the exact same question. Why are you so obsessed with him? Why were you spending so much time with this? What do you like him that much? Do you love him? Remember, Danny even asked Amy, "Do you love me? Do you like me?" Oh my god, right? Even Danny, like, almost on, even though he didn't know it, he accidentally like was about to masturbate to a picture of her butt. Like, it was just all very dirty and weird and messy, and and it was just like, I think that's what's so cool about this show, right? Like, it was like, damn, what happens when you create a relationship that's not built on love? Because quite frankly, they were in a relationship. Is it a healthy, happy one that any of us in the room want? No. But you two are in a relationship. Y'all spend time texting each other, making sure each other are miserable, planning things around each other, finding out where each other is and are, and what they're doing and who they're with, and trying to infiltrate their lives. Danny's trying to be my friend's friend, Amy's trying to be my brother's girlfriend. Like, there are a lot of boundaries that just like, oh, y'all are in a relationship. This relationship is just based off of revenge, and that's just as terrifying and unhealthy, right? So I appreciate that. Shola, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say along what you just said. It's basically a trauma bond. It's basically a form of trauma bonding. And but what I noticed, sorry, what I noticed that right from the scene when Amy realized that Danny had peed in her bathroom, and then she runs outside and she's chasing him, like towards that last last scene of episode one. There was even though, I mean, and the thing is that like Ali Wong played that role so well that even though she was supposed to look angry, there was still this happiness. So the way she chased after him, she wasn't, what, it didn't feel like anger. It felt more like, hey, where are you going? I just found you. It was more like she finally found someone whose anger and whose like fucked upness kind of matches hers. And like she found this connection, like she found this like this mirror reflection. I don't know if you guys know like that Spider-Man, that meme where like it's Spider-Man and they're pointing at each other, they're in the same costume, and then they're pointing to each other. Like, that's what that was. It was like she finally found her own reflection, and she was just like, so you can do this. And then she was like, okay, well, maybe I also have this part of me that I want to come out. So like Danny was more like an invitation for who she really is, or maybe who she's always wanted to be, to really to come out. So with him, like she found that connection, and then she also found like the permission to finally like inhabit that side of her personality. And so when like in the way she was chasing him, to me it just seemed like she finally found a place where she is understood, right? Like she found understanding that her partner could never give her, and nobody else around her could really give her. So like there was this similarity of where both these rejects, these people like that nobody really understands, but then like we seem to just be on the same wavelength in terms of how angry we are and how disconnected we are. And then like it just kind of
Yeah.
spirals because she just didn't want to lose that connection. Like she just became, like you
Yeah.
said, she became very obsessed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a connection. And I think, you know, on the topic of, right, that like someone who understands, right, it's compassion. And, if we go the opposite route and kind of understand and empathize, it's hard, right? Because, I'm about to get into my bag. Just give me a second. But we all like place anger in this emotional category that we should feel shame for and that it always needs to be checked and that we shouldn't own it and address it and validate it, right? But that's not fucking healthy either, right? Don't pretend that you're not angry. Obviously, don't let it fester and go unchecked and then, get to the point where you're on episode 10 of Beef and you don't know what's going on, right? And you're throwing up and stuff. But don't pretend that you don't have the anger because that's not the way to do it. And so when you find someone, right, and especially right I think it's poignant when he makes that comment. I told you Western therapy doesn't work on East. What is this? What do you say? Eastern people,
Eastern
Western
Mom.
Eastern, right? And it's like that was like a cultural kind of intentionality with that too, right? And just like with racism and marginalized groups of people, it's like when you find someone that understands your anger, whether it's at the world or at your parents or at your childhood or at your friends or your financial situation, when you find someone that understands and can validate your anger, even though they're also directing theirs at you, it's almost like a fucking relief. And when you have, gone through your entire life where every one of your emotions that aren't happy, grateful and content, every emotion outside of that, you're shunned for it, you're shamed for it, you're told to suppress it, you're told to stifle it, then you turn into a fucking lunatic because these are not things that you are supposed to live without. You're not supposed to never be angry. That's not what this is about. You're not supposed to never want to, seek revenge. That's not what we're saying here. You're not supposed to never feel like things are unfair and that you want to like, try your best to fix shit. We all seek validation for our anger, right? Like, my God, don't tell me that I don't need to be angry, that I need to calm down. Tell me I understand why you're angry. I understand why you're stressed. I understand why you want to go fucking strangle this person. Like, don't gaslight me. Don't give me, right? That's why George probably fucking, annoyed the shit out of her and didn't fulfill her in any way to the point where she's masturbating with guns. I can't believe I had to say that in a What We Watch space. My girl's masturbating with guns for some sort of like way and passionate way to validate her anger and her frustration and her feelings of like this unfair world, right? Where she's basically like, you know, at the begging at the hands and feet of a white woman to buy her company so she could be with her child. Like, come on now. Anybody's in the room can be like, you know what, that's probably not a great position to be in, right? Like that doesn't feel good. And then a motherfucker was about to ram my car in the parking lot. Like, we can empathize, right? And I think that's what I really appreciate you saying that, Shola. Like, there's a moment where she created a real, like, they were in a relationship. It was an unhealthy, chaotic one, but they were deep into a relationship, honey. They cared, right? Because back to Sam's point, the opposite of love is not hate. They cared about each other, and they cared that one of them suffered more than the other. I really, really care about how much you suffer. I need to know that you hate your life. I will dedicate all of my time to make sure your life sucks. And she was like, I will too. And now it's like, oh my God, someone understands me. Someone understands my anger and someone makes time for me for one of my emotions that I've been forced to like suppress. And that's it's fucked up, but that's what I think is so cool about the show. That's why I think everyone likes it, because whomst among us, guys, right? Like, especially as non-white, non-male people, right? We get in positions where it's like we have to be docile and we have to be smiley and happy and we have to ask for things gently. And, as soon as we're angry, we're a problem. And it's like, no, anger and all of these other things are emotions and feelings and things that you are allowed to feel, that you should feel comfortable in feeling all the way through. Maybe not to the point of people around you dying. I think that might be a little too far. But, when you grow up in a household that like doesn't validate it, and then you grow up in another household where someone's just like, I'm going to keep saying this, our LinkedIn guy that's just like, be happy, breathe, do some yoga. And it's like, no, bro, please stop trying to fix this. Okay. I just need to feel this. So yeah, I encourage everybody to look at the tweets up top. What We Watch Film TV asked any clue what the connection between these two films have been with Beef Netflix. And I'm going to let my lovely co-host tell us about the connection between those two films and the beautiful series we just watched.
Yes. Oh, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. So I did link
Hey
the.
Mo, there's one movie that I'm surprised you haven't mentioned yet. That this kind of reminds me of
Hold on,
line.
Sam. Do you hear my co-host is speaking real quick? Give me 1 second, okay?
Oh, I didn't hear.
Go ahead.
Yes, sorry. So I did link the article in case y'all do want to go and read it afterwards. It's a really good read, and it's very insightful about the meaning behind.
Someone's speaking. I can't hear them at all. I don't know if it's just me.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you might want to leave and come back.
Sam, hold on. Yeah, someone
Yeah,
can everyone hear them?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
leaving.
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna remove Sam, and then you come back up, Sam. It's okay. Twitter has not been our friend technologically today, and that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, sweet. So, Sam, just so in case you are able to, oh, he's already gone. Okay. Well, for everybody else, episode 1 is inspired by a German film director, Werner Herzog's. My apologies if I didn't pronounce that right, but it's actually the documentary Burden of Dreams, which was a film from 1982. And then episode 6 is extracted from Ingmar Bergman's film Through a Glass Darkly. But if you do read the article, you find that the entire series is based off of different novels, different publications, and quotes or links that are directed from the authors. So
Yeah. So thank you. Did everyone hear that? It seems like Twitter's being a little bit weird for some of us. Is everybody good? Speakers?
I'm hearing like police radio coming from something.
Oh, I can hear her fine.
Hello?
Oh, it's fine now. My bad. It was like static of some kind. Sorry.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. I heard the explanation, and then
What's
I think
going
Matt
on
was
here?
speaking.
Hello? Let's see.
Oh no, I guess
Co-host,
everybody
can
can't
you
hear
hear
me.
me?
yes, we can hear you. I just don't think you're able to hear us.
The space is acting weird. If I leave, let me see if it will let you continue to run it. Give me a second, okay? Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay, we're good. Okay. So, I don't even know if all of everyone heard that, but there is the article pinned to the top of the space. It's a lovely article. Before we close this out, I just wanted to review, because of the amazing like parallels. I wanted to say a couple of things, and speakers, y'all can come back up as we wrap this up. I wanted to say a couple of things. The first thing is I love that a German film director was involved in kind of the influences, especially like the documentary and in influencing the titles of these episodes, right, for this wonderful show. I think I like that because a lot of times when I'm having conversations in English, I reference French and German to explain emotions that I'm feeling because they have like many more words to express feelings than we do, I think, in my opinion. And I think it's really cool to see German film director Werner Herzog's documentary Burden of Dreams influence the titles of these, episodes, right? And so I'm as a person that just loves language, especially for in its ability to help us express emotions, right? And this was an emotionally like chaotic show. It's a ride here that we're talking about. So I'm gonna go through the titles of all of these episodes, and you guys just kind of tell me how you felt about it. And if you want to come up on the stage and quickly talk about it while we wrap it up, let me know. So, episode one, the birds don't sing and they screech in pain, right? Again, these are German filmmakers in their bags. They will get deep into their emotional bags. Episode two, the rapture of being alive. Episode three, I am inhabited by a cry. Episode four, just not at all the same. That was by Betty Friedan. Episode 5, Such Inward Secret Creatures. Episode 6, We Draw a Magic Circle. Does anyone know what that's about? That's also about just like we'll address that later. But episode 6, We Draw a Magic Circle. It's always about like the boundaries that we set for ourselves that actually are just like arbitrary and can change at any time. And so like we really have to like examine who we are like internally and deeply. So I really like We Draw a Magic Circle and I Am Inhabited by a Cry. Because I like I Am Inhabited by a Cry because I think that we have such negative connotations with crying, and like we kind of look at people as like weak when they're crying and doing that. So it's like I am inhabited by a cry almost makes it seem like it makes it less about who we are and what we're doing and more that like crying just came to us and like was instilled in us. And so it creates this like idea that, oh no, like I was just attacked by a cry, bro. Like, oh no, this cry just came on to me. I'm not a crier like that, which is like kind of how we like judge people when they're crying. Episode 7, I Am a Cage, which is actually a Franz Kafka quote, or Kafka, excuse me, and it's I am a cage in search of a bird. So lots of cool things there. Episode 8 was the drama of original choice. I could not get over the title of that episode. I could not get over it because this is the episode where we see Danny and Amy's parents, right? We see their childhood trauma. We see their unaddressed Asian American like, culturally specific like an intentionality with like the relationships that they had with their parents or where they grew up and how that affects like how they view the world now and how they like where they channeled their rage and their anger, right? Now, the drama of original choice. Episode 9 was The Great Fabricator, and episode 10 was Figures of Light. And so it's interesting, like the titles of the episodes change a little bit and like obviously explain what's going on between the two characters in the episode, but it really just kind of shows you how the episode is going to go, right? And if you go, please read the article. Like my co-host said, it's a lovely, lovely article about the influences that this show took. And it just makes so much sense why A24 was like, yes, we're going to, funnel money into this show that's really just about two people mad at each other after being in a parking lot and where that really comes from. Matt, I see you back on the stage. How did you feel about that? And just like my comments on like German and French language providing a little bit more robust conversations for us to have about our emotions. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm from a family where there's like Arabic, French spoken on one side, and then like Spanish and English, and also bad Spanish and bad English spoken on the other. And it's kind of like the common themes are that English is a good language for being precise and for like if you're gonna write a manual, write it in English. But if you want to express some shit, if you want to like really convey emotions, if you want to really kind of convey what it is you're feeling, there are a lot of other languages that do it a lot better.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, regarding the titles, I'm not even going to hazard just because I feel uncultured and I feel uncultured and I'm not gonna like just try to just like half-ass it. It's there's more levels to this than I thought there were even just watching it. It's just
That's
really
why we're here. Yeah.
so you know how I started the space off by comparing it to BoJack, and like I don't know if you probably know this, but that's one of those shows where it's like if you freeze every frame, there are insane amounts of details
Yes.
that can be broken down with literally every freeze frame. And I think part of what really blows me away, and this will probably just be my last comment on this, is that yeah, this is an A24 production, and they're just on their quality speaks for itself. It's crazy to me that this is a show that from if I hadn't been on Twitter, I would have no idea what the fuck this show is. I wouldn't know it exists. I had all of the marketing seemed to came from my mutuals just saying, "Hey, this is fire! Tap in and beat. Oh, we're watching beat. Like, what the fuck is beef? I thought it was I had no idea what it
Right.
was, and it wound up being something totally different. And I just don't know how Netflix, you want to raise the prices, but you're not going to advertise what's quite literally the best show you have had in I don't know 5 years or something like that. I don't know.
I'm telling you, the Asian American, and I always hope that I'm speaking, appropriately when I say, Asian American and like culture, and really just in a sense of like gratitude and exploration and celebration of their culture, right? Like speaking of Netflix, like Squid Game came out, right? Like very recently, another absolutely phenomenal show. We had, one of my largest, most like listened to spaces ever with Squid Game, and like Netflix will put out a good TV show now. Like they will get a good TV show that is like really, and I appreciate you saying that about like in the English language, and like maybe like I was saying like French and German and Spanish. I speak French and Spanish as well. And definitely when I feel like a heightened sense of passion and emotion, I'm definitely going to like start talking in one of those languages because I feel like it expresses what I am feeling internally a little bit more, a little bit, better externally. So, and I really, really, really respect, it's been years, and, I'm very cautionary about like recommending BoJack to people because I'm telling you, it'll tear you apart. It is a brilliant, brilliant and masterful show in just like watching a freaking horse, right? This narcissistic human being that you also kind of just so deeply empathize with just constantly, no matter how bad he is. You just like kind of empathize with him and his emotions and what he's going through and his ups and downs, and you get happy when he's happy, and then like it's a brilliant show, and I appreciate that comparison because George is Mr. Peanut Butter, right? Right? He really did have like that relationship with his wife as he was running for president, and just like he's just always happy, and then you have those moments where you sit with Mr. Peanut Butter and he's like, yeah, I'm happy, but like this shit is crazy, right? And it's like he's one of those characters. But I really think I appreciate this show, um, because, right, it is just like what we were talking about at the beginning of this space, was just peeling back layers, just peeling back layers. Like, oh, you were doing all this honking because you got too many emails. But why did you get too many emails? It was too many emails because you're trying to close a deal. Oh, well, why are you trying to close this deal? Oh, you're trying to make 10 million, even though you already make nearly a million, or your net worth is at least in the millions. Oh, okay. Well, why are you trying to do that? Oh, because while you were trying to get those millions, you had a kid. And oh, you had a kid because you found someone that you thought was good and you weren't good. Oh, you did that because you didn't fucking love you didn't feel like your parents loved you. And oh, you did that because you saw your dad cheating. And it was just like, damn, like they just did a fantastic job of humanizing but also like holding each of these characters accountable with each fucking episode. And it's like, what are you doing, Amy? What are you doing, Danny? Why are y'all like so vengeful in all of these episodes? So as what we watch, I really love to hear that it's the community and it's the people around you that are like recommending these shows to you, because that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here for. I always pay attention to episode titles. Highly recommend looking into Euphoria episode titles as well as Succession episode titles. There's a lot of work, right? I'm here to celebrate artists. There's a lot of work that goes in, and a lot of intentionality that goes into like titling an episode, and trying just kind of understand what might be coming or what's going to happen in the episode. And there's a lot of great references to a lot of great film and literature that you could learn a ton about. And there's a lot of great writers that are speaking about it and calling it out, like, oh, this is in reference to this German film director's work, and this is about this documentary, and this is from this famous poet, right? So no wonder this happened in this episode of Beef, because this was about this, and this is what that author was talking about. So I encourage you guys to read the article that we tweeted out at What We Watch Film TV. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you to all of my speakers and my listeners. Thank you to my co-host. That was our chat on Beef Netflix. Shout out to y'all. Please feel free to tweet me anything that you enjoyed or that we missed. Happy to continue the conversation online.